how about we just give up to link up the sound? Hi, how are you guys? I just realized that I never really introduce myself or do what they call like an outro so much to these videos. A, because most of you already know me since you're on my Facebook page, but since this stuff is going to be going up to YouTube very shortly, my name is Casey Thomas. I hated saying my own name for the longest fucking time. I don't know about you guys out there, how it was, but I really didn't get comfortable using my name or even hearing my name until maybe around senior year of high school. Casey Thomas, God. Oh. And then when I went to go, and when I joined the Screen Actors Guild, they give you an option. Just in case there's another Casey Thomas out there, and you become a star, what would you like your name to be? They give you 3 options. Not a star, a working actor, whatever you may be, an extra, whatever the hell it is. But when you join the Screen Actors Guild, just in case there was already an existing actor with that name, you need to come up with 3 other options. This blew my fucking mind. I remember back in the day thinking like, all right, well, if I'm not Casey Thomas, then who am I going to be? And then when you have the ability to start picking your own name, it gets real weird. That's why you end up with Emilio Estevez, etc., etc., who's a lovely man. I worked with him for a long time. He's a great guy. But he picked his name, for instance, so he would not be linked forever to his father, Martin Sheen, or his brother, Charlie Sheen. Either way, so here I am, with not just the option to choose one new name or identity, because this is like recreating yourself. Say I were to get a big movie, then all of a sudden, whatever name I picked, aside from Casey Thomas, would be my name for all intents and purposes. Because nobody calls Emilio Estevez whatever, insert real name here, they call him Emilio Estevez, because that's who he is now. I stewed on that for quite a while. I don't even remember some of the things that I came up with, but I figured, all right, the easiest way to do it would just be to go about keeping a family name. So I had all different last names. I had Casey Flynn, Casey Ford, and Casey Patrick, I believe. Flynn, Ford, and Patrick, which is my middle name. Those were horrible names in hindsight. I should have thought, but that's a very tough decision to come up with 3 new identities, JIC. Thankfully, I am still Casey Thomas, and that's who I shall remain on stage on terra firma. Aside from that, I want it to say pop on. I don't want that to become a thing. I've said it a couple other times. Like, hey guys, just pop on to talk about. I don't pop anything. It leaves scars. I'd rather hop than pop. So I'm hopping on to tell a quick story. Story time. So Kate Winslet yelled at me at work last week. I've been waiting to record this one. I actually already recorded a version of it, but considering I have to sign non-disclosure agreements for all the TV shows and films I've worked on, especially if they have not been released yet. So I felt as though I might have breached that contract. So I'm going to hop back on again and give it a take 2. I was booked on a show called Mare of Eastown. Mare. M-A-R-E, not the horse. Like, hey, Mare, how you doing, Mary? Kate Winslet plays a detective. Her name is Mary, but they call her Mare. Mare of Eastown. Horrible name. So either way, I was booked on this show. I was supposed to work on this show 2 other times. Great parts, actually, but I had to turn them down due to circumstances. I forget what it was. The weather. I also live out of town from where they film. They film in Philadelphia. I reside in Scranton, otherwise, if I'm not in one place or another working. They call you last second for these things, literally the day before, and say, hey, are you available to come in and do this, this, and this, be here by this time tomorrow, whatever. Sometimes they don't give you that information. Sometimes they just say, are you available? And I say, yes, of course. The last bus from Scranton to Philly leaves at 4:30. So if I don't get any more information from them, as in like an official booking or any sort of information, as in like a place where I'm reporting, a time to report, that's the last bus to Lake Winnipesaukee. If I'm not on that bus, I ain't making it to the lake. So 2 other times I was supposed to be on the show. It didn't work out for whatever reason. The third time's the charm, though. The third time worked out. They gave me enough notice. I was able to make arrangements with the people I stay with in Philadelphia. I love you, Tara and Brianna. My boyfriend's sister and her wife live in the area, so I'm able to stay with them and then shoot off from their house to whichever location in the Philadelphia area I'm supposed to be going to. So I do that. Of course, on this particular day, they're filming in Bumblefuck, Media, Pennsylvania. Not Medea, Media, Pennsylvania, where Patty Purcell lives. Now, hi, Patty. I was in touch with her, and unfortunately, she was busy and also filming something, and we weren't able to get together. It would have been nice to actually just stay with her and be 2 minutes from the actual shooting location, as opposed to staying in Philly and then taking public transportation for 2 hours to the sticks when I had a friend that lived so close. But we were not able to make that work. So it took me forever to get to Philly, then from Philly, wake up super early, get to the location, which was this tiny little bar. This is how it all works out. So this is the scene. Picture it. Brooklyn, 1922. This little bar, mind you, there's 50 extras, 100 crewmen, the director, etc., so on and so forth, in this tiny space. My portion of it was pretty simple. The scene is as such. Kate Winslet is at the bar, talking to a man about something. And then a friend of hers comes in the middle of the conversation, breaks it up, pulls Kate Winslet's character aside. They have a side conversation. The friend then leaves, and Kate re-enters the scene with the guy, and they continue talking for a few more pages, and then the scene ends. That's the scene that we're filming. That's a lot of people, a lot of coverage, because the way it works is they take people, however many people are in the scene, every single person in the scene has to have a close-up. They need a master shot, so that's a lot of setups. You end up filming the same scene several times. Well, we were doing a matching shot. I needed to be there because I was talking to the friend of hers. My job was to be talking to the friend of hers before that friend entered the scene to interrupt the conversation between Kate and the fella. So they were about to do that woman's coverage. So I knew I needed to be there to be talking to her, to walk away as she walks in to the scene with Kate. So I knew I needed to be there to match that shot. I've been doing this for many moons. I know my job. It's simple. I wasn't there as a principal actor. I was there as a fucking extra. So we're there. It's getting late. It's a long day. And we're about to start filming, you know? And there I am with the other actress. Her and I are bullshitting before they start rolling. She knows I'm supposed to be there. Then, boom, action, rolling. The scene starts. Kate and the man start their dialogue. They're talking. And then all of a sudden, you hear them sort of go off script and start whispering and talking about different things, which is fine. Back in the day when we used to work on film, boom, cut immediately. Film was super expensive. Now that things are done digitally, there's a little bit more leeway. You could let the camera roll if the actors happen to mess up, and then the actors can talk, readjust, and then start over without cutting the camera and sound. So they started to go off script and talk. And now the director's like, okay, everyone was quiet, staying silent, letting them figure out whatever it was that was going wrong. The male actor apparently had a problem with this guy right here. So I'm not going to go into the logistics of the scene. Either way, Kate Winslet's back was to me. She's talking to this other guy, but he was facing me, so we were making eye contact. And some actors, they like to use that as an excuse for, as to why they're sucking in the moment. This guy, I can see him. I can see his eye line. Get this one out of the way. It could be the director. It has nothing to do with the peons. It's not like that extra, get that extra out of the way. It could be any other important person. But some actors explode when somebody's in their eye line. Either way, that's not even really what it was about. I'm not sure. But they were whispering, and I'm looking at this guy, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, oh shit, this is about me. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, Kate Winslet National treasure, English rose, treasure, Rose DeWitt Bukater, turns around, grabs me by the shoulder, and huffily says, "Excuse me, darling, are you supposed to be here right now?" And now, of course, my blood goes cold, because you have the 50 extras looking at you, all of the cameramen, and all of, the crew. And you have Kate Winslet staring at you. I smelled her breath. I smelled her sweat. I smelled her lip gloss. I said, yes, I'm absolutely supposed to be here, because if I'm not here when she enters this scene, then I'm just going to disappear when they go to cut this together. I'm sure Kate Winslet already knew that. She's a seasoned actress. She's wonderful. She was super professional. I kept an eye on her. I watched how she worked, and the bitch had been around the block. She didn't have an issue with it, and I'm sure she wasn't even really mad at me. The guy had an issue with it, but apparently his vagina was thumping. And instead of him addressing me, which he should have, he was telling her about it, and then she got huffy and was like, "All right, darling, excuse me, would you like me to turn around and take care of this for you?" All right, well, that's what happened. So by the time she turned around to touch my shoulder, look me directly in the eye, and make me feel like that big, it was all because she was doing the dirty work of a puss. Whoever that guy was, fuck you. And he weren't even that great. So yeah, I got yelled at by Kate Winslet. All was fine, though. I was where I was supposed to be. Everything was fine. After I told her, yes, absolutely, I'm supposed to be here. I'm a big fan. I did not do that. She said, all right, thank you. And then turned around and went directly right back into the scene. I thought it was awesome I got yelled at by her, though. Not yelled at, but addressed. I've been in many movies. I've been in many things. I've met many famous people, and it never gets old. You pretend like you're super cool and it doesn't affect you, but it's always so cool. And I totally appreciate how also in real life celebrities are completely normal people. She had a lovely, curvy, motherly, womanly body. Every time you meet somebody for the first time in person, your perception of them is thrown out the door, because you forget that they are regular people and their shit stinks. She didn't stink, though. She smelled lovely, and she was great. But a fun little story for you guys. I've been doing this for years, forever, but I never told any old California stories or anything, because I was out there alone, and unless it came up and there were a reason for me to talk about some big shot thing, I always felt that way about it. It was a big shot thing. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I didn't want to sound braggadocious, and I also didn't want to glamorize or glorify or something that actually wasn't that big of a deal. It's like, it wasn't like I was out there being a movie star. So it is what it is. It was what it was. But I've met dozens, hundreds, and the beat goes on. But now that I'm back on set, which feels great, doing film and television, I might have a couple more, stories that might be a little bit more interesting about my celebrity encounters. That one wasn't that interesting, but it was current, so I felt as though I could tell it. Keep an eye out for Mare of Eastown, HBO. Not sure when it will be airing, but most likely pretty soon. They're in the process of filming it currently. So guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Was my gal Kate. We're friends now. She touched me. I was this close. I touched it. Anybody? Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's fine. I'm sure some of you know. And this brings us to the end. But indeed, I love you all. Stay sassy, America.